YouTube, hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to take your calls later on in the show. I'll put the call-in line number at the bottom of the screen, 205-850-1994. How you guys doing? It's finally that time where we can talk some Alabama football on a regular basis. And boy, is there a lot to dive into. I'm going to talk about the offense. I'm going to talk about the quarterbacks. Today, we had an opportunity to hear from Nick Saban, also Kevin Steele, along with Tommy Rees, the new defensive coordinator. I love his voice, just like old school mentality. I'm like, thank you. You know, that's what we need leading the defense. And then Tommy Rees, it was really nice to hear kind of his overview and his philosophy. And people were asking him kind of if the Notre Dame offense is going to transition over here to Alabama with Alabama's offense. You can, of course, watch those in its entirety right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys inside the comment box. I see you guys. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I see you, Wesley, Eli. What's up, everybody? I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the channel. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Okay, let's dive into it. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was really about kind of the quarterback breakdown, right? And everybody wants to talk about the quarterbacks, and rightfully so, following Alabama's third practice of the season. What's up, Tyler? I see you inside the comment box. Put the call-in line number at the bottom of the screen. Let me talk about kind of the report after 3 days of practice, what we know thus far. Take it for what it's worth. I know you can have your different points of view, and it's okay, right? The more points of view, the better. I was at practice, watched it in its entirety yesterday, which was a really hot day. You know, yesterday or today I was driving around and the feels like was 121 degrees, right? So yeah, that's how it is in Florida. What's up, Jamie? I see you inside the comment box. Okay, so let's talk about the quarterbacks. Here's the quarterback report. It's 3 practices. This is what I've seen thus far, okay? Tyler Buchner is behind Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe. 100%. There's no way to spin that. There's no narrative when I talk about the quarterbacks. I want the best player to play. 100%. Saban is going to decide that along with Tommy Rees. That is going to be the guy that marches the team out on the field during week 1. I still feel that the quarterback is probably going to be Jalen Milroe that starts against Middle Tennessee, but I feel that honestly Ty Simpson has made a lot of progress and he is the best passer. I know I had a video that went out recently that talked about the reason why I feel that way. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. I feel that he throws the best ball. I feel that his ball is nice and compact. He has a really good delivery. He has good zip on the football. So this is what I saw from the practice yesterday. Each of the quarterbacks, Tyler, Jalen, and Ty, were all repping with the first team offense, right? So you had the offense on one side of the field and they're working with the wide receivers. The offensive line is down on the far end of the end zone. And from each of the quarterbacks, you know, most of them was like check downs and this and that. But towards the later part of practice, we did get to see them go in one-on-ones, right? And from my observation, Tyler Buchner's passes just weren't there. There was a little bit of inaccuracy on his part. Of course, everybody was hitting the checkdowns to the running backs. And yes, Justice Haynes was certainly working with the ones along with Roy Dell and Jace McClellan, which is amazing to see just because he's a freshman right now. Jam Miller, I think he's out with some sort of small injury at this point of the season. Ty Simpson had a nice strike to Isaiah Bond. It was a seam route where Isaiah Bond came across the middle of the field, about 25 yards. It was in stride, and he scored a touchdown. The very next play, Ty is going for Isaiah Bond in the right side of the end zone, and he overthrows Isaiah Bond. There was another time where Ty went to Isaiah Bond again, and it was a wide open pass in the end zone, and Isaiah Bond dropped the pass. Okay, so the takeaways from that are Isaiah Bond is an absolute stud. I think he is probably the most dangerous wide receiver within this group. And that's a very talented wide receiver unit. And that's a lot to say for someone who's just a sophomore, but he has that speed that you're accustomed to. And I think Malik Benson does as well. Over the past, 5 years, we've been accustomed to top-end speed. These wide receivers who have elite speed that translates to Sunday. What I mean by Sunday is playing in the NFL. And I think Isaiah Bond certainly has that. He turns heads. You can just see from his top-end acceleration that he's built different. He's fast. Kendrick Law is another guy that I like, and we've talked about him several times, along with Kobe Prentice. So those are the guys that were certainly getting reps with the first team, along with your usual guys like Jermaine Burton and Ja'Cory Brooks and Malik Benson. But let me talk about the quarterbacks before I kind of move on to the other components of the offense. I did like Jalen Milroe and the zip on his football. There was a couple times in warmups where he was just kind of lackadaisical with his ball. And sometimes he does that, and it's nothing to really, I mean, it's just, he's getting the ball to his receivers. But even I made a comment to another reporter. I was like, I wish I would see him put some more fire on the ball. And boy, did he. So later on in practice, Jalen Milroe starts zipping the football around, and that's something that I really haven't seen in quite some time from Jalen Milroe. I didn't see that really that much in the springtime, but I did see it yesterday 100%. So when I talk about these quarterbacks, there's absolutely no narrative. I don't care who starts for the team. I'm not riding some guy. I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you what I've seen, and I think Ty is a little bit ahead of Jalen in terms of leading that team. But Jalen is right there as well. So I think those guys are 1A and 1B, and I'd probably put Ty Simpson still ahead of Milroe, but Milroe is making progress, and the zip on his footballs was really impressive to see. There wasn't too many fireworks in terms of like these guys throwing deep balls for touchdowns or anything like that. Like that just didn't happen. The one thing that I will say, and that's kind of the quarterback report. So before I kind of wrap that up, that's what I've seen so far. We had an opportunity again to hear from Tommy Rees. He talked about the quarterbacks and kind of the competitive balance that each of them have, what they liked about Tyler Buchner and so forth. And that's great. So these guys have had 3 practices. This is where it stands. This is a long season. This is a long time before we get to that first game against Middle Tennessee. They're all doing reps. So right now I have it Ty, Jalen, and Tyler, and that's where it stands as of 3 practices. So take it for what it's worth. I wanted to take a quick pause and talk about the offensive line, because that's an area, and I'm going to talk about the wide receivers and the defense, and I'll take your calls later on in the show. But the offensive line, at least for the starters, shakes out like this. And I really do like the offensive line, honestly. On your right, that's big Terrence Ferguson, number 69. Dude's a monster. And I think when he first came to Alabama, I thought that he could potentially play right away just because his body type and his athleticism really stood out on film. Like you hear that adage, like road grader. Terrence Ferguson is a road grader. So he hasn't won this spot by any means, and I think Eric Wolford is going to do his best to continue to put the best 5 out there. And in fact, Darian Dalcourt is right there as well at that left guard position. So you can kind of have a slash with Terrence Ferguson and Darian Dalcourt. But Pritchett, I think he had some sort of small injury, but I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. You have Terrence Ferguson. I think he looks outstanding. And then you have Seth McLaughlin. When I was going through Fan Day and I was kind of pointing out guys and you have Proctor there as well, Jonathan. So Caden Proctor, of course, the freshman, and that guy is certainly, like, all these freshmen certainly stand out. I mean, Wilkin Formby caught my eye, and this dude looked angry kind of there to the right. So yeah, you could slide in Proctor there, Pritchett. I think those guys are going to be your tackles, probably Proctor, I would assume, but that's kind of how it stood for the time being. Seth McLaughlin, when I was kind of showing the fans, he said, like, run the damn ball. And that's kind of like what he wants Alabama to do. And then you have Tyler Booker. We'll hear from him on Monday. Talk to the media. You can catch that right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And then J.C. Latham at that right tackle position. So I do like how it stacks up right there. I think that Proctor, like you pointed out, Jonathan, is going to be there. And that is going to be a really good offensive line this coming season. Here are the wide receivers that jumped out to me from practice on Saturday. To the right is Emmanuel Henderson. Let's talk about him first, because Emmanuel Henderson is a guy that kind of we don't spotlight enough. Someone threw a touchdown to Emmanuel Henderson. I don't know if it was Jalen Milroe or Buchner. I think it wasn't towards the later part of practice, but it was at some point in the practice. And remember, he got a touchdown during the spring game as well. Let's not forget about Henderson, because I think he's going to play a vital role for this team, and he's going to, get a lot of opportunities this year. He's fast, he's big, he's physical, has a lot of support from his teammates. I really like everything that Emmanuel Henderson brings. So I don't want to overlook him or I don't want to miss out on his name, because sometimes we feel we don't talk about him enough. The receivers, as I mentioned, that stood out, Isaiah Bond, that guy is going to be a problem for opposing defenses. Malik Benson is that guy. We didn't see too much from him yesterday. Although during the drills, I was watching him and Ja'Cory Brooks were working with the first team when they were in individual units. The way he moves in and out of his cuts, in and out of his breaks, it reminds me of some of those other wide receivers 3-4 years ago that we're accustomed to seeing. So can't wait to see what he does on a bigger stage. Ja'Cory Brooks right there as well. I saw him frustrated one time when somebody couldn't get him the football. I don't know which quarterback it was, but he was like, I'm in the end zone. And he was wide open, and no one got him the ball. Jermaine Burton repping with the first team as well. Kendrick Law, the guy is so big, so imposing, and that's kind of what I like about Amari Jefferson, who Alabama just added, is the fact that I think on 3, Amari Jefferson, they had him at 210 pounds, which is so amazing because that guy can stop on a dime. I cannot wait till he gets here. Look, 100% Alabama wanted Perry Thompson as well, but Amari Jefferson is no option B or fallback option. So I know we're talking recruiting right there, but I think he is going to be a slam dunk. His film is so impressive as a wide receiver. He could stop on a dime, great acceleration. Amari Niblack, it was great to see him. He was getting a lot of reps, and they were actually splitting him out. So what they would do is if Alabama had trips to the right, they would put him, you would have your far out receiver, then you'd have your slot, and then they would have Amari Niblack out there as well. And he was coming across the middle of the field, and he caught pass after pass from Milroe, from Simpson, from Buckner. And I still think he needs to add on a little bit more weight. I believe the roster has him at 240 pounds or whatever. But Amari Niblack, I think, is going to be utilized a lot. I saw Danny Lewis at the corner of my eye. The tight ends were working. Same with C.J. Dupree. Didn't have too many opportunities to see Dupree, to be honest. Just not yet. It's been 3 practices. And yes, Kobe Prentice is right there. Yes, Javion Prentice is right there as well. He's one of those sophomores that we talk about. These are just the guys that stood out to me yesterday. But I was saying Danny Lewis, he was in a situation with the outside linebacker. They were going one-on-one. Dude is physical, absolutely like a dog. I was like, whoa, Danny was certainly bringing it. Let's talk before I take your calls. Let's talk about the defense, just real quick. And this is what I saw from the defense. And I didn't really see too much of the offensive line. The defensive line. But let's see if we can bring that up. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get this over to you. Okay, there we go. The defense, this is what stood out to me from the defense, and this is kind of the first team and a couple of miscellaneous points there at the bottom. So let's start at the left of your screen. Outside linebackers, of course, Dallas Turner, Chris Broswell. I do have to mention this, and he's not on this board right here or this photo, but I looked to the left, and the outside linebackers were hitting the board, hitting the bag way down on the opposite side of the field. And I was like, who is running through those bags? It was big, it was physical, he was athletic. It was Quindarius Robinson. So even though he's not listed on here on this, the first team defense or whatever this is, the guy is going to play. And he even impressed during the springtime. Jahad Campbell, that guy looks amazing, to be honest. I mean, talk about a big breakthrough. I think he's going to be it at the inside linebacker spot. Deontay Lawson. You guys saw the question I asked Deontay Lawson. I straight up asked him. I was like, look, is there a little bit more hunger inside the locker room? He said, yeah. He took a pause. And you could tell that that's on their mind. Got some reverse rat poison finally, right? On the right, you have the corners, Kool-Aid, Terrion, and Trey Amos. Amos did work with the first team for sure, but you had Kool-Aid and Terrion. Now, I tweeted this out on social media that Terrion Arnold was probably the defensive MVP of that practice. Take it for what it's worth. I thought he did a great job in man coverage. He broke up a couple passes. I think he's done a great job improving his game. year over year. And I think people have different opinions about Terrion. I get it. Like, that Tennessee game probably lives in all of our minds, but these two corners are very capable to be the top corners in the SEC. Kool-Aid for sure. Like, there's nothing more to say about him. To the right, the photo is of Malachi Moore, and you can see how diesel he is. What's amazing is Malachi Moore was at the star position, and behind him was Earl Little and also Jalen Key, who is the transfer from UAB. Jalen Key was also working at the safety spot. Caleb Downs looks just like Malachi Moore. And I mean, which is amazing considering he's just a freshman. So you have a freshman back there, and he's probably going to retain that position. Kevin Steele today was asked about Caleb Downs, and Kevin Steele said, look, some questions are better to be asked to Nick Saban. Nick Saban's been asked about Caleb Downs all spring. I don't think he's been asked about him this year yet, but he had plenty of praise, and I get it. Caleb Downs, one of the top freshmen in the entire country. Same with Justice Haynes on the offensive side of the ball. Now, how about this? Devontae Smith, yes, Alabama has another Devontae Smith, was repping with the first team at the safety position, which is outstanding to hear because Devontae Smith is entering his junior season. He's played in 16 games, kind of spot played, if you will. And now, as of 3 practices, he's getting reps with the first team. I still think there's a lot of position battles that are going to take place, but it's really good to see Devontae Smith because I kind of label him with like Emmanuel Henderson in terms of guys who are certainly capable to play, but starting to make that breakthrough. So maybe Emmanuel Henderson with the breakthrough yesterday on the offensive side, and then Devontae Smith on the defensive side. And again, these are just some spot notes. I'll come back with another video and talk more about the running backs, and really nothing else to say about the running backs. I mean, Jace looks amazing. Roydell does too. Jam Miller, as I mentioned, he's out with some sort of small injury right now, getting like treatment. It's literally nothing. And Justice Haynes was repping with the ones as well. So those guys are all going to get fed. And I did get a chance to see Richard Young yesterday, signing some autographs. I didn't get to see him actually on the field. The running backs were kind of out of my line of sight. But when they did go first team offense, I did see the running backs that were with the first team. Some miscellaneous notes on the defensive side. You have Christian Story, who is in some sort of a knee brace. And then you have Tony Mitchell, who clearly is back on the team. We reported that in the summertime. And he's working with the third team. He's wearing number 27. Of course, Coach Saban was riding him like he rides all of his defensive backs, right? And Jalen Key was working at star as well as safety. So again, I will recut this video and you guys can watch it in its entirety as I talked about the quarterbacks at the beginning of this particular video. So please hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Now is a great time to call in. I'd love to take your calls, and you can get the call-in line number. It's at the bottom of your screen. Call-in line is open, 205-850-1994. If there's a question that you have about the team, let me know. If you want to talk about the quarterbacks, let me know. I certainly want to hear from you as we go into this very pivotal August, right? I mean, I think this is a time where Alabama needs to figure out which guy can take the team by the horns and be that guy to lead this team on the offensive side of the ball. Is it going to be Ty Simpson? Is it going to be Jalen Milroe? And I think the long shot right now is Tyler Buckner. And I was talking to guys within the media room, and just because whoever starts this first game against Middle Tennessee, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the quarterback that starts against Texas or that continues to start the rest of the season. What does that mean? Does that mean we're going to get multiple quarterbacks throughout the first part of the year? Possibly. We'll take our first call and we'll start right now.